Hello internet, and today we got Batsby versus Ninfoniel, two of the newer characters. Alright chat, who should you pull for? Is it a worth pull? Is it a skip? Let's talk about it. Before we start, appreciate Etheria for sponsoring today's video. Download the game using my QR code on screen or my link in the description. You support your boy, and we'll jump into the video now. So first of all, we got Batsby. This is my take on what his role generally is. His main role, I think, is a debuffer slash AoE DPS. More so a DPS than a debuffer, but he does put quite some debuff on the enemy. And he's also a PvE oriented character more than PvP. However, I actually think there's a way you can use him in PvP as just an AoE damage dealer. First point, the S1 has anti-heal debuff, and he also has a passive on S1 that says the more debuff you have on the enemy, the more damage he does. We'll get into his kit later. You're gonna see a picture of the whole thing. S2, he has debuff extension, but unfortunately, you don't get to extend dot. You don't get to extend CC, so you cannot use him instead of shadows on it, which I would love for that to be the case. Sadly, it's not. You cannot use him to stun the enemy for 5 turns in a row by just extending like a obol stun, right? Can't do that because stun's a CC. S3 on Batsby has vulnerability, which makes him kind of just, you know, PvE. You don't usually just use vulnerability and think you can one-shot stuff. You usually pair vulnerability with like defense down, and then you start killing stuff, right? So opening to the floor, let's just read what chat says. You want your bloodbath bat? Okay, it's an interesting way to say Batsby. A bloodbath bat, yes, and that is exactly like the build I was thinking, at least, but we'll talk about that later. Slide number 2. Take a look at her kit. I mean, his kit. S1 has an anti-heal. The exclusive passive is the unique one. For each unique debuff on the target, Batsby's damage dealt increases. Ooh, so a debuff-based damage dealer. This is the part where he is that, right? The more debuff you got on the enemy, the more damage he does. But you can look at this 2 ways. In PvP, that means he'll do a lot more damage if you have debuffs. Conversely, if you don't have debuffs, he's gonna hit like a wet noodle. But then in PvE, where you can stack up a lot of debuffs, you can stack up a lot of dots, you can stack a lot of like defense shred, vulnerability, speed down, anything like that. It will all count towards more damage for Batsby. How much damage can he really do? We don't know yet. It's a pretty unique thing that only he has right now in game, I believe. Now, if Batsby attacks an enemy whose attribute is countered by Batsby, who is the primary target of the skill, the damage dealt by Batsby will be significantly increased. We don't know how much will it be increased by. So in the end, we don't know if he's gonna be insane or not. But in the end, it really depends on the amount of debuffs you have to have on the target. Therefore, this is more like a PvE and damaging move, right? I think you all would agree. Let's take a look at what chat says. To go Codex on him, he can take 3 turns in a row. Ooh. We'll touch on that later, right? We haven't touched his S3 yet. So does momentum set stack with his passive? I assume so, because they recommend a momentum set. The momentum set for this S1 is gonna do a lot of damage bonus, right? Because they stack towards each other. At least that's what on paper I think they are trying to recommend. And that will be the S1. Now, what's interesting in PvP, that's why I say that he could be using PvP, is Holden is an issue right now in PvP. He's really strong. Batsby counters Holden's red element. So you can technically, if the S3 is really good, you can technically one-shot at Holden. Let's move on to S2. S2 deals damage to all enemies, crit extend duration of existing debuffs by 1 turn, but this cannot be cannot be control effects, which is such a shame. The meta could be so much different if this could extend control effects, but that could be too broken, right? So understandable. S2, the main thing would be the crit that extend the duration of existing debuff. This explains a few things. First of all, he needs to crit, so you want to run it with high crit. So that's only skill 2, not that big of a deal. But yep, Darkstar has mentioned something important as well. You probably need 130 crit to make sure Batsby also crit any element disadvantages characters as well, just to make sure you crit them. If you don't know, if you're at an element disadvantage, you get a -30 crit debuff basically, so you're not going to be able to crit that easily. You want to make sure he crits. 130 is what you want to aim for, which is tough. In any case, let's take a look at ultimate. Valiant Tide deals AoE damage, applies vulnerability for 2 turns. Each crit on enemy grants Batsby turn meter plus. This is very interesting. Depending on the amount of turn meter increase you get, you could technically just click an alt. If there's 4 enemies on the field, and let's say the turn meter up is by 25%, that means you crit 4 enemies, you get a turn right away, because it'll be 25% turn meter plus times 4, because there's 4 crits, 4 targets, you get 100% total. You just get to S2 instantly. That would be very interesting. You get 3 turn of vulnerability that way. And this is where potentially you can put him on Codex of Magic. So what you do is you click S3, get another turn, click S3 again, get another turn, and then finish it off with S2 or S1. Next slide. Bam. Let's talk about his builds. Now, I've seen the recommended build on Twitter, and I'll say recommended build on Twitter, they don't really even know what to expect sometimes, because they recommend a count with full DPS stuff for Lilium. And look at how Lilium became, right? Lilium could be played that way, but a lot of people just run Lilium with Bloodbath, Law of Silence. That's what usually people do these days in PvP at least. So take this with a grain of salt. It's not exactly just set in stone, but let's just break it down. So what's recommended from the official Etheria Twitter is count with the recommended matrix of Momentum, Fury, and Fury Edge. Now, the question is, does Momentum stack with the damage bonus of his S1 passive, right? Let's just remind ourselves about the S1 passive. The S1 passive says Batsby does more damage the more debuffs there are on the enemy. Momentum pretty much does the same thing. The more debuffs are on the enemy, the more damage bonus you're gonna get, up to a maximum of 6 debuffs. You're gonna maximize your momentum buffs if it has 6 debuffs, right? Does it stack? Because if it stacks, that S1 is gonna hurt. Now, given you recommend us Momentum, I assume these two can stack with each other, therefore a lot of damage, which makes this build a more PvE general build, right? You're gonna do a lot of damage with S1, S2, S3, all crits. They do decent damage. You cycle with Batsby pretty well, making him pretty solid in something like a Doki Doki, because there's a lot of AoE damage there. Now, that is the general build. Let's talk about PvP. Potential PvP builds for the great Batsby. In my opinion, it would be more like a Lilium case. Law of Silence will be Batsby's like go-to in PvP. Why? Because if he dies, he did. The Law of Silence protects him from dying, and you need the Bloodbath because otherwise you die to a Yeli, you die to like a Messiah, and there's nothing left. But if you can get Law of Silence on and then have Bloodbath to survive, Batsby S3 per meter push up, and then plus an S2, you might be able to just kill the whole team if the enemy's squishy. He might have potential as like a anti-cleaver. The other idea that chat mentioned would be Codex of Magic. Now that would only work if the S3 turn meter push is a lot. So what you're gonna do is you can use your skill multiple times, but you have to take the turn first. Otherwise, he might just die to like anything. A Tiamat S1 might kill the Batsby, right? So opening to the chat. Let's see what the chat are mentioning. Extra turn means he can cycle back into shell effects fast as well. Good point. Now, it all depends on the amount of turn meter plus he gets. If it's 25% fire, he gets extra turns by critting. If he dies, he dead. Who doesn't? Ho Yen doesn't. Got him. Next character, Ninfoniel. And let me just say, the design for Ninfoniel, pretty good, pretty good. I like it a lot. All right, so talking about Ninfoniel, this was a really odd one, you know, because she's from the odd element. I'm sorry. Because the role of Ninfoniel is quite similar to a character that we already have. It's Valerian. Let's just read up what she does. She's a healer with AoE immunity buff. Who else does that? Catchy the Guard. Healer. Who else does that? A lot of other characters can be a healer. So he's like a combination of what we already have. Now let's take a look at S1. The main thing her S1 does, self-resistance buff. I feel like I would have 100% F resistance, but then an Obel with 0%, not 0, but maybe 50 F accuracy still lands everything. It's kind of weird, okay? Better than nothing, I guess, but nothing too crazy. S2, redistributes all allies' HP plus heal everybody too. So this is Valerian's S3, basically. Someone's low, you redistribute everyone's health. The low guy becomes healthier and everyone gets a heal on top of that. So depending on how big the heal is, but I doubt it would be that much crazier than like a Valerian. If it's just a redistribute plus full heal, that'd be quite strong. But then if it's not, it would just be a Valerian, which I'll just ask, why not just use the Valerian, right? S3 is an AoE attack buff for 2 turns, AoE immunity for 1 turn, a +1 duration for the buffs or only the main target. So I assume from what it's reading, I'm gonna show you like the skills later. This should mean if I target like a Messiah with S3, he's gonna get 3 turn attack buff and 2 turn immunity because it's +1 turn duration for the main target, right? But the rest of them will get 2 turn attack buff, 1 turn immunity. AoE Rhyme Bloom buff effect as well. This is a new effect, a unique effect. And what Rhyme Bloom does is it's a shield that also increases attack. It's like a, you know, Fuqiu shield. But then I also have an attack buff, a further attack buff on top of just being a shield. Let's just keep going now. Ninfoniel. It's Ninfoniel's skin. Okay, so S1, res up for 2 turns. I ain't ever seen anyone has res up and that being the reason they win a game or win like a PvE mode. Happened before, so S1's probably not that crazy compared to the great Batsby, right? Skill 2, Glacial Overflow. This is literally just what I explained. Like, it's so short. HP distributed evenly, heals the entire team. Frigid Blizzard. This is exactly what I mentioned as well. It's literally just it. A tap buff 2 turns, Rhyme Bloom 2 turns, immunity 1 turn. Effects on primary target will last 1 additional turn. Depending on how thick the Rhyme Bloom shield is, she could be really good, but I doubt it would be that crazy given Rhyme Bloom also boost attack. So to take a look at what she has that the healers don't have, it's the attack buff. So if I take out Lingwall for Ninfoniel and then pair that attack buff for like say my Deeting, well, it doesn't matter on Lilium, but on Deeting without self attack buff, that'd be massive damage, right? And looking at Ninfoniel, unless it's for really fast speed clear, given the attack buff. Otherwise, I feel like it's not a must to force yourself to pull. What does Rhyme Bloom skill off HP? It doesn't say anything. Hey. Yep, there's a lot of things we're still not sure about Ninfoniel yet. Okay, Rhyme Bloom, how thick's the shield? What's the percentage based off of? What's the extra attack increase on Rhyme Bloom? Is it good? Is it a double attack buff? Like, is it a greater attack buff? Or is it just a slight bit of attack buff? If it's a greater attack buff, then Ninfoniel is actually the most offensive option for healers, for people to clear things really fast. And that could be good in certain stages or in certain accounts. Ninfoniel build. This is the recommended build. As I mentioned, recommended don't mean they know what the future is going to hold, because that's the same case with Lilium. So recommended from Etheria Restart's official Twitter is Codex of Magic being a recommended shell on Swift Rush, Bulwark, Swift Smite. This seems pretty straightforward, and I have to agree, this one's like, you can't go wrong with this one. This is just a catchy the guard build, right? You just want to put on the Bulwark on your entire team because it's a AoE immunity buffer, right? So giving Codex of Magic building her fast will be pretty solid for a general build. She also heals, and being faster means, you know, you can cycle your skills more often. It's good. But overall, Codex of Magic to just get the Swift Rush, Swift Smite, be fast, get the bullet for your entire team makes sense to a certain extent. All right, so that's for PvE or general build. And next up, we have PvP. In my opinion, PvP build is like simple. Lighthouse, Bloodbath, Bulwark. You want people to hit you. Bloodbath keeps you alive, procs your Lighthouse, push you forward. You have a Bulwark, no one's stunning you. Give your whole team the immunity with the Rhyme Bloom. Kill them back that way. It's similar to how like a Veronica will work. That's my take. So let's just take a look at what chat says. Oh no, she grants immunity. Yes, she grants AoE immunity. At least that's what it reads. Like right here, the role. Ninfoniel is versatile support. She grants all allies attack up, immunity, and special shield Rhyme Bloom. So far, we talked about her in Rango and like PvE, but in PvP, that's what I'm saying. I feel like in PvP, she's going to have a decent spot, because she can buff immunity for everybody, and she's a healer. She can heal on the S2. That is going to be important, given right now the meta is so like healer dependent. It's always, oh, I'm going to get that Sonya off you. Oh shit, you only have Lingluo plus Uchu. And now Ninfoniel is in the fray. You can pick Ninfoniel now. With the healing, with the redistributed health, depending on how big the heal is, could be a very good source of healing, right? Shield damage reduction, immunity, attack up, bro, that's strong for fast, no healer runs. Yes, that's only very, very strong, in my opinion, for fast clears. If you are going for fast clears, sure, I would recommend that. We'll touch on that later, right? I would love if they would just release the percentages so that we don't have to guess. But in my opinion, if the attack buff, the extra attack buff is good, you're gonna see her in a lot of one-shot teams, because it's the only way you can get even more attack buff. Lilium's attack buff is also 40%. So if the 40% attack buff and Rhyme Bloom makes it an extra 30% for a total of 70%, that is immense attack buff. And that is going to be a very unique place for Ninfoniel. The only person that can really give you double attack buff, essentially. That's how I see it. But it'll still depend on the numbers for sure. Pull or skip? You know what, chat? You tell me. Pull or skip? I'll tell you my opinion. You can share your opinions here. First of all, if you just have enough summons, pull for both of them. For me, I'm mostly free to play. I spent like 100 something bucks. I've got every character, and the only time I spent is, I think, for the rebate plus for Yelly. That's it. Never spent anything else. Got every character anyway. Haven't spent a dime. Batsby and Ninfoniel, right now I have like 100 something pulls, I believe. I'm gonna get them both probably without being shat on. I think there's a big chance I'm just gonna get them both. Let's say if you don't have enough pulls though. First of all, you gotta wait their numbers. I would love for you to just see their numbers right now, but they've done that before where they show numbers first and then they just ended up changing them later on. I guess that's why they don't show it, which is why we can't have like a set in stone answer. Just on paper though, let's just not care about the numbers. Just on paper, I feel like Ninfoniel is more of a usable character than Batsby, or a more unique character than Batsby. Because in the end, what does Batsby do? The unique part about Batsby is the extension of debuffs, which a shell technically already can do, like Dark Moon. Which, if you are clearing things fast, you don't really need the extra turn of like defense down. For instance, my Doki Doki run, I have a claw stick. I'm just landing 2 turns of defense down. I only use one of them. I just need a 1 round of defense down where my Romoka kills them. I don't really need like an extension there. Same for Rango. With Rango, I'm using Dark Moon, I think, on claws, where it's an extension, but I'm using Dark Moon for the extension now. We don't even need Batsby for it, right? If his numbers turn out being good, first of all, and you can think about using him as a DPS with utility, right? AoE deep, a lot of AoE damage, and he has utility as well. That's my take on Batsby. Ninfoniel, if you are a person who wants to build stuff that's quick, that can one-shot stuff, I think Ninfoniel is an aggressive version of Valerian. Valerian, if you already have it now, Valerian's like a safer version. You die once, all right, I've got a bubble, I'm gonna keep you alive for one more turn. That's usually very like game-changing. For example, Teramaton, where if they kill you once, they just kill your whole team. So having a bubble there is really good. But Ninfoniel's, what's unique about her? The craziest part, where no other character can do, and what Ninfoniel could, is the extra attack buff from Rhyme Bloom. Now, we don't know the numbers yet, But there are people in chat who mentioned, oh, it's like an extra attack buff. And currently, the attack buff is 40% attack boost. If the extra attack bonus is like, say, 30%, that's like 2 attack buffs stacked towards each other. So that could actually make your Deeding that does 100k. Now it can do 150k. That's a big change. It'll still depend on the numbers. And as for general use case for PvP and whatnot, I think Ninfoniel is the more unique one out of the two that can give something very unique. And let's take a look at what chat says. I'm definitely not pulling for PvP purposes, all PvP. If it's all PvP, I think you want to take a look at Ninfoniel more. Unless if Batsby can deal with Holden. That is still like a question mark. Does he do enough damage to one-shot Holden? It's really hard to do that. But technically, if you can put debuff on Holden, with Holden being red, you could one-shot the Holden with Batsby. If that happens, Batsby all the way, bro. I'm telling you. If you care for like saving summons and such, which I think most people have enough if you play the game actively, then you wait first. See if Batsby has enough multipliers to one-shot Holden. See if Ninfoniel's shield is good enough, the extra attack buff is good enough to really make clears faster. And if you want to aim for that, then I think Ninfoniel is your go-to. And if Batsby can one-shot Holden's, PvP fans, you want to pick up Batsby. Holden's an annoying piece of shit in PvP. I assure you know that, right? So that'll be my take. For people that has enough summons, just pull for both. That'll be all. Appreciate it. Take care.